Coming up, we got a gaming keyboard, a video intercom system for your door, a network-attached storage device, and I'm about to get Pono'd. It's all next. It's time to watch before you buy.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Before You Buy is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
Before You Buy is brought to you by Jack Irwin. Jack Irwin sells men's shoes made from the finest materials at honest prices, and they ship them right to your door. Check out their shoe collections at jackerwin.com/twit. That's jackerwin.com/twit. Welcome to Before You Buy, the Twit product review show where we get some of the latest and greatest stuff in-house. We give it to our talented staff, and we say, what do you think? How would this be? How has it been living with this? Chad Johnson is here, OMG Chad. You can find him on Patreon, patreon.com/OMGChad. That's where he's raising money for his OMG Craft series on YouTube, youtube.com/OMGChad.
OMG Chad and OMG Craft. There's
you got two channels?
Yeah.
Why do people do that?
Because OMG Craft is much more of a show. I feel like a lot of it's kind
so
of
you have like your personal stuff.
Exactly, on OMG
Chad makes sandwiches, macaroni and pizza sandwiches.
Exactly.
Is one channel.
And then OMG Craft is the really highly produced, super edited, so people can decide which one they want.
It's great to see you.
Thank you.
And today you have also the host of the GizWiz with this guy named Dick. I don't know.
He's an up-and-comer.
He's a young guy.
Yeah, we're hoping he pans out just fine.
Chad has a very nice-looking keyboard. We've seen Roccat stuff before. They make mice and keyboards, just mostly for gamers, right?
Absolutely. The gaming market is absolutely where this keyboard is marketed. It's one of these fancy mechanical keyboards, which I've talked about on the show before.
Clickies.
They click. This is the specific version of brown switches. So the different.
Well, now, we've heard about Cherry.
These are the Cherry is the brand. So then it's Cherry Red, Cherry Blue, Cherry Brown. That sort of thing.
So these are cherry brown switches.
These are cherry brown switches.
What's the difference in the colors?
So the different things that they do. Yeah, there's black as well. That was the other color. So red is like clicky. It'll have that defined click. Some will do a travel, like when you're clicking, it'll feel exactly the same all the way down until you hit the bottom. Some of them have a different feel so that it gives you like 70% actuation force at the top.
Is this like pro bowlers? They have 8 different balls depending on the shot.
Absolutely.
Gamers have like specific needs and tastes and keyboards.
So this one has, I think it was the 70% actuation force, but then also it doesn't make an audible click once you have compressed the key.
So there's good travel, but not a clicky.
So if I'm leaning over, like if I try to,
I can hear a click.
I can force the click from just punching the key down really hard. But if I wanted to be quiet, I could. And so
I like that.
It means that on all the other keyboards that I reviewed, I've had to use it on a different computer than the one that I actually gamed on. Because the one I game on and record videos on, I can't have that gigantic click.
You'd hear it on the mic.
You'd hear it on the mic. Yeah. Exactly. So
this one you could though.
You can, absolutely. The other thing that makes this one different is the TKL, which is 10 keyless design, which means it doesn't have a numpad. It's missing your numpad.
Some people like numpads.
Exactly.
Mostly accountants.
Yeah, well, I really love numpads.
For gaming?
Just for life. I like, and with this one, I just kept hitting the arrow key for enter because it's just like I'm working on something.
That big enter,
and it just wasn't there because my numpad wasn't here.
Well, gamers also, sometimes games use the number pad too.
Absolutely. But this is, some gamers really want no numpad.
It adds to the length of the keyboard.
Exactly. It adds to the length of where your hand rests in relation to the other hand when you're gaming.
Oh, and you want your mouse hand maybe a little closer.
You want your mouse hand closer. So this is what this 10 keyless design is, a design that some gamers are really, really badly going to want. So if that's an issue for you, they make other keyboards that do have the numpad, but this is a feature that it does not have the numpad with this keyboard. The other thing is the lights. The lights are really, really nice on this keyboard. Where's my function key? Here we are. It has 6 levels of.
Turn down our studio lights. I want to see this.
It has 6 levels. Wait, there we go. Of lights.
Is it pulsing?
So what's happening is I'm hitting the function key, which is illuminating just the function keys. I have
There's something going on in the back. Whoa.
So that is our cameras. They're causing the LED flash.
Oh, okay. They don't look like that in real life.
They don't look like that in real life. But the lighting on this keyboard.
Do they look like that in real life?
Yeah, they do. Is absolutely a really neat feature. There's some really cool stuff that you can do with the lighting. This is my first profile that I have set up.
It's like a light organ.
My second profile is whenever I hit a key, it'll stay on and it'll fade out after a while.
So you can see what you did.
Yeah, and the WASD, yes, exactly. So like, let's say it's like, what? I hit E to open my inventory, and then like R is over here, like, no, you didn't. So that's kind of nice as well. Or if you want to snoop on someone's password.
And you can keep the WASD lit, so you can always see
yeah, and this one doesn't have that feature, so it's not very distracting, but WASD is always lit. That's one profile I have. And then the other one is just always on.
How flexible are these profiles? Can you say do anything? I mean, or
basically, so I have the this is the drivers set up over here, the software that you use. And you can see I'm in profile number 4 right now, and I can hit the keyboard and it'll switch.
This is more complicated than the Quake console.
It really is. It's super duper complicated. You can see right now that I have after 1 minute, it'll go down to 40% illumination. This is your key assignments. So let's say when you hit your easy zone key, you could change your number 1 to also be P or something to do whatever the heck you want versus in the game. Here's the key illumination panel where you can easily select, say something like, I want to select all of the keys or just the WASD keys. Or whatever, and then assign over here. Do they blink? Do they breathe? Do they fade? Which is what I had done. Like when you hit the key lighting effect is when you hit the key, so it can delay it and fade out. Or the ripple was what you saw with that really cool looking thing before. Then you have a few others. You have your update, and then you have more macro sort of support here. So the drivers for this, for all of Roccat's products are always kind of a really high point in using everything. On top of that, everything is stored to the keyboard. So let's say you get everything just perfect. You can unplug this keyboard, take it to your friend's house, plug it in at a LAN party, which is really, really nice.
This is Windows only, though, I'm thinking.
This is Windows only.
Yeah, but the gamers don't use it.
It'll work. Like, it'll be a keyboard, which has mechanical keys, which is really nice.
But all that fancy driver
But all the fancy driver stuff is Windows only. So, on the hardware side, along with the mechanical keys, this is really solidly built. And also, it has this built-in wrist rest, which I really like. I started really enjoying these when I got a few other gaming keyboards. And the wrist rest, I just got to say, the material, it uses a no smudge plastic, which I literally have never seen a smudge on this thing. I don't know how they do it. It's using nanobots or something. Also, just the whole construction is really solid. On the back, you have different tracks so that you can put your wires in different directions that you really want, which is really nice. And then, of course, it has foot pads with non-slick on all the corners of.
It's so interesting because this is a keyboard not for the person who types a lot.
No.
I mean, if you type for a living at work, you would have a much simpler keyboard. This is for the person. This is over the top for the over-top game.
It really is. Now, it does have an over-the-top price.
Oh.
$140.
That's nothing.
It's not the worst actually in the realm.
I mean, you can't get a keyboard for $5.
There's going to be a lot of people that think close to over $100 for a keyboard. That's absolutely ridiculous. But in this market, that's actually a pretty normal price.
Really, for a gaming keyboard.
Yes, yes.
And that's going to last you, right? You're not going to wear it.
It really is. The switches that they use are rated for like way over 10,000 depressions, strokes, exactly. And another thing to mention is all the keys are mechanical. Sometimes you'll get it where your function keys aren't mechanical, or they try to skimp on your home buttons and stuff like that. They don't skimp on this. So, pros, fully mechanical keys. I really like the brown keys. The illumination options are super duper pro, and just the full construction of the keyboard. The cons would be maybe the cost, maybe the fact that it doesn't have the number pad, but all of those are also, well, especially the number pad, could be a pro.
Right.
It's really hard to. Oh, the other con is no multimedia keys. There's no play pause.
What's at the bottom? Isn't that
well,
play
you can
pause?
do it through function keys,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have dedicated.
What are those
multimedia
three at
keys.
the bottom then?
These right here.
No, at the very bottom.
Oh, this is how you select through the different profiles. So you have your profile selections right here, and you can use this in combination with other key things as well.
And
so
I presume
that's
if
how
you were
quickly-
crazy enough to be a Dvorak keyboard user, you could swap the keycaps.
Yeah. I'm pretty positive that these keycaps come right off. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I don't, you know, I always wanted to do that, but then I thought, but then you can never use anybody else's keyboard.
No, you have
Kinda
to
out of
be
luck.
key bilingual if you did that.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Absolutely.
Would you use this for yours?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
That's a buy?
This is a buy. I cannot tell you how much. I've used the red switches before. This is the first time I used the brown switches. I gotta say, I think that's the switch for me.
Cherry brown's better than cherry red for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, because I need to not have that click, but it still feels so amazing. That's another thing, is if you go to a Best Buy or something and you can touch this keyboard, please do. It's a buy with a lean towards a try, because you kind of need to try it.
Yeah.
to
It's a
really
personal
understand
decision.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I have. You just made me want to buy a keyboard. You're insane.
Isn't it? It's a tool. It's a tool to kill other people in video games and get a lot of fun out of it.
All right, a definite buy try. Mostly buy.
You'll probably want to try it.
But you want to try it.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
Chad. OMG, Chad Johnson. Great to have you here, OMG. Do you have a website, omgchad.com?
I do. It's basically a great about page.
Yeah.
is
And
what
then it
is.
links to everywhere else, so
Exactly.
people could use that to find you.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Thank you, Chad. It's great to
No
see you.
problem.
The Giz Wiz every Thursday. Mm-hmm. It's 5 still?
Yep.
5
Absolutely.
p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time on the TWiT network. 0100 UTC.
You've been working on that.
I did. I figured it out. I have a kind of a mnemonic.
You have a formula in your head.
Formula in my head for UTC. Hey, next, let's say hello to Aaron. Is this Aaron Newcomb? Aaron Newcomb. You've seen him perhaps on Floss Weekly, occasionally on All About Android. I guess apparently he has unwelcome visitors at his home. So we gave him the Swann Doorphone Video Intercom to try out. Here's his review.
Hey everybody, Aaron Newcomb here with another review. This is going to be the review of the Swann Doorphone Video Intercom. It's a pretty cool little product. I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but let's start with how much it costs, actually. So this on Amazon currently right now, it's $119. And you can actually get that on Amazon Prime if you're an Amazon Prime customer. But this is an electronic doorbell, if you will. And it has a little video camera that goes, this gets mounted on your door. And then this part gets mounted inside your house somewhere. And when someone comes up and presses the doorbell, you get a little video screen to show them, to show you who's at the door. So it can be incredibly useful. It's certainly a lot better than looking through that little peephole. And like I said, it's $119. Here's what comes in the box, just in case you're curious. You get some nice mounting hardware and screws to connect everything together. Those are not very interesting. You also get this little, guarantee and some stickers. You can put on your window or whatever. It says protected by Swann. I don't know if this is really protecting you at all, but it's a nice little ad that they threw that in there. The other thing that you get, of course, is essentially 4 other things. So you get the doorbell, the piece of the doorbell that with the camera and the thing that you press here. You also get this lovely monitor that you mount inside your home. And it has a speaker and it doesn't have a camera on this end, so the person at the door can't see you. You can just see them, which is kind of good if you're in your pajamas or underwear or whatever. And then you get this really bulky, I don't know how many feet this is, like 50 feet or something of cable to connect the two. And the connections are pretty simple, actually. If you look on the back of both of these devices, if you've ever done hooked up a sprinkler system or something like that in your house, this will be very familiar to you, very easy. Essentially, the connections are numbered 1 through 4, and you hook up the 4 cables here, and then you hook up the corresponding 4 cables on this side, 1 through 4, and then there's a little power adapter. That's the 4th thing, by the way, that I didn't mention before, is the power adapter. The power adapter just plugs into that slot, and then you mount these on the wall. I think the most difficult thing for people that are looking to implement something like this is it will require you to drill through your wall at some point, right? You're going to have to feed this through your wall. That's the most difficult thing. I guess you could probably try to get this through a window. You know, maybe you could kind of hide the cable through some cable raceway or something on your wall, going through a window and then back inside if you wanted to. That would be the easy way. But I think for most people, they're going to want to drill this through your wall and maybe hang this right on the door. So that's the only difficulty I see with getting this installed. Otherwise, once you hook it up, once you hook up the cables and power up the system, you're essentially good to go. So someone would come up like this to the doorbell. They would hit the doorbell. You can see it's pretty loud. It's going to actually just pop right up on your screen so you can answer it. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see. Oh, there we go. That's me. And then if I wanted to answer it, I would just press the talk button. Let me bring it back down and do that. And you can hear it's gonna complain because I've got the two so close together. I don't know if you can hear that, but it actually is picking up my voice. So I can say, hello, anybody there? And then they can hear that on the outside. I'm gonna hang up now because that's annoying. And but that's essentially how it works. So someone will come up, hit the doorbell. The other nice thing about this, I guess it's nice if you're into chimes, it comes with like 25 different chimes. So if you press the little button on the side, by the way, there's also controls for contrast, color saturation, and volume. The little button on the side picks which chime it actually rings when you press it. So let's go ahead and press it. That's the one it's on right now. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. It's really annoying. Oh yeah, that's annoying. So basically all the rings that are in here are annoying. They do have some for Christmas, which is nice. They have a couple Christmas ringtones, but the rest of the ringtones are pretty annoying. But hey, at least you have a choice. It's not just the ding dong, the normal ding dong thing. So so that's it. That's the Swann Doorphone Video Intercom. So let's talk about pros and cons. The pros, fairly simple componentry here. You know, you got the screen, you got the doorbell. You don't have to mess with any extra parts. Price, I think this is actually a good price, $119 for what you get here. That's really good. I was trying to cost this out for a do-it-yourself Raspberry Pi implementation. As everyone knows, I love to do it-yourself projects at home and make things. And I was trying to do this with the Raspberry Pi, and it's going to come out to about the same price, especially when you factor in the cost of the case, the cost of the small TFT display, and by the time you add everything that you need, plus it's going to be difficult to get the audio. There's no mic input by default in the Raspberry Pi. So to get the audio and the video and everything, it's actually going to be a little bit more than $120 to do that all yourself. So this is actually a fairly easy and cost-effective project, I think, for someone to put together. The cons, as I mentioned before, you've got all this cabling to worry about. You have to run this cable through the walls. That means you're going to have to drill it into your wall and stuff. Some people cosmetically may not like that. And certainly, you know, if you're not necessarily a do-it-yourself kind of person, you know, that's going to be the only downside, really. So in the end, I think this is a pretty good project, both for price and complexity. And if you're looking for something like this to put in your home, I would definitely say buy it. That's my recommendation. I'm Aaron Newcomb. Thanks for watching.
Aaron Newcomb, he works at NetApp, right, during the day. But occasionally you'll see him on Floss Weekly, all about Android. We love Aaron because he brings donuts. And he says you should buy the Swann Doorphone Video Intercom. Coming up, we're going to got Father Robert in here, take a look at a network-attached storage. But I want to show you my shoes first.
I'm really excited about
this. Is kind of kooky. We got a new sponsor. It's a shoe sponsor. And, you know, I've never been happier. I love this. These are Jack Irwin shoes, a new approach to men's shoes. Chad's wearing some Jack Irwins, too. I love these. These are the Brogues. No, don't worry about your SpongeBob socks. It's okay. We're not looking at them. You're wearing some nice loafers there.
Oh, my gosh. These are amazing.
Dress boots. You want to see my now? I don't know. You have to be my fashion advisor.
Like,
Chad.
look at the bottom of these shoes. The bottom of these shoes look better than the tops of most of my other shoes.
These are using the same tools, craftsmanship, and materials as the most expensive shoes in the world. Tanneries from Italy and France, artisans in Spain, making gorgeous shoes. I'm going to show you some of them, and then I'm going to tell you what a great deal these are. You buy them online. They're free shipping, and returns are free, too. So, as always, when you first buy shoes, you're going to want to try them out. And one thing I should tell you, they're about a size bigger than you're used to. So
Right.
When you, for instance, Chad is normally a 10.5.
10.5 and
you're wearing an
sneakers.
8.5, and they feel comfy.
These are, I actually cannot like say enough that these feel like gloves on my feet.
They should.
The way that this curves right here.
The leather is so nice.
There's just such the subtlest, amount of the shoe against my foot. It feels super comfortable.
Look at these.
Incredibly
I
comfortable.
feel like you would wear these at least to hide your SpongeBob socks.
Yes.
This is all the rage now. Are these like half boots?
Yes.
Very popular.
Yes.
Look how gorgeous that is. Wear that to your holiday party.
Look at that wingtip thing.
I
at the
know, isn't it
top.
beautiful?
It's so beautiful.
Leather soles, everything's perfectly made, handmade. Basically, this is stuff that you would pay $800 for at a men's shop. But because they are not going through retailer, but going directly to you with free shipping, free returns, you're going to spend about 1/4 to 1/3 less. Look at the prices there: $220, $195. These are shoes you will be proud to wear. Remember to get the fit right. Jack Irwins are cut a full size big, so you subtract 1 full size from your shoe size. If you wear a US size 10, purchase a size 9. These are 8.5 Ds. I usually wear a wide 8.5 or 9, and because of the extra size, these actually fit beautifully. Look at that. Is that a gorgeous shoe?
It's almost like an heirloom shoe.
If you know what, you should dress for the job you want. If you want to look good at a meeting, if you want to look good for the ladies, if you want to just trip the light fantastic with your honey on your arm, you better believe ladies look at shoes. You know this, guys. They will judge you by the shoes you wear. Stop wearing the sneakers. Start wearing some Jack Irwins. Jack Irwin, JackErwin.com/twit. Now, these are handmade, so the offerings are limited and they change frequently. So if you see a pair you like, get them because they won't be there for long. To see the shoes I've been showing you and Chad's been showing you or any of their shoes, go to JackErwin.com/twit. We've got Leo's picks there. Oxfords, loafers, wingtips, these beautiful new dress boots. I love this. They even have eyelets on them. These are, the little, little hooks.
Yeah, I
love these.
I remember that.
Comfort, style, at a great price. JackErwin.com/twit. And we thank them for, this is their first time, on the show.
Yeah. They're shoes you can fall in love with. That's what I feel like.
You just made up a new
You
slogan.
can fall in love with.
Have you ever had a nice shoe?
I don't know.
I think not.
I don't know. I think they've always been hand-me-down.
Can I tell you, I've had very expensive $800 shoes, and these are nicer. They smell good. Oh, they're just made well. You should have nice shoes. Everybody should have at least one pair and wear them to those very special occasions. Oh, they smell good. All right, let us move on to Father Robert Balassier, the digital Jesuit. He's the host of This Week in Enterprise Tech. Coding 101, know how he knows his enterprise gear. And he has something for us. We've all talked about network-attached storage before, and we have a variety of prices, a variety of styles. What do you get for a $6,000 NAS? Let's take a look at the ioSafe with Father Robert. Robert?
Boom. Burn. Sizzle. Crack. Crunch. Zap. Disaster is how ioSafe made its name in the storage business. They make fantastically tough storage devices that don't just store your data, but protect it against fire, flood, crush, and the like. With the release of the 1513 Plus, ioSafe takes the indestructible storage game to another level, but we'll get back to that, because I don't want to lose the fact that even without the destruction proofing, the 1513 Plus is one heck of a machine. The ioSafe 1513 Plus is a 5-bay network-attached storage box, equipped with a dual-core 2.13 GHz Intel Atom and 2 GB of system memory expandable to 4 GB. The first thing that you'll notice about the 1513 Plus is that it's a beast. It measures 14.7 inches by 8.75 inches by 12.5 inches and weighs about 60 pounds with drives. The reason for the size and weight is that ioSafe has partnered with NAS specialist Synology to encase the heart of a Synology DS1513 Plus inside of ioSafe's armor. Opening the front of the box with a hex driver exposes a sealed, watertight compartment. The boys at ioSafe looked through the data and found that most data loss in fires comes from the water being used to douse the flames, so they designed the 1513 Plus to survive full immersion in 10 feet of salt water for at least 72 hours. However, should drive replacement be necessary, the compartment opens with a single hex bolt that gives you access to its 5 bays. In our review unit, filled with cool-running 2TB Toshiba hard drives in slide-out trays. Everything is encased within a layer of high-strength steel wrapped around ioSafe's proprietary DataCast fireproof insulation, a water-infused ceramic that releases that water in the form of steam if the cast gets above 150 degrees Fahrenheit. The ablating ceramic keeps the assembly cool enough to avoid drive damage, and the steam creates positive pressure in the case to keep out superheated smoke and soot. Combined with ioSafe's active airflow cooling vents, which allow airflow to the electronics during operation but melt shut in a fire, the 1513 Plus can protect its drives from 1550 degree heat for 30 minutes. A note about performance. The ioSafe 1513 Plus is fast. Really fast for a network-attached storage device. Throughput in RAID 5 mode is rated for 350.94 megabytes per second read and 202.34 megabytes per second write. In our speed tests, we were able to simultaneously flood the gigabit Ethernet ports of 3 test machines, each to their practical maximum throughput, without topping out the 1513 Plus. Of course, to do that, you can't just put 1 or 2 Ethernet ports on the back of the NAS, because the choke point would just move to the NAS. The 1513 Plus overcomes that limitation by having 4 bindable, VLANable gigabit Ethernet ports. In addition, the 1513 Plus sports 4 USB 2.0 ports, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and 2 eSATA ports, all of which can be put to good use either in expanding the capacity of the 1513 Plus or expanding its feature set. With specially designed eSATA connectors, you can link a 1513 Plus to 2 ioSafe N513X expansion units for a total of 15 drive bays. Paired with 6TB drives, that means you can have up to 90 terabytes of raw capacity. Since the 1513 Plus uses Synology's DiskStation operating system, it can use all of Synology's apps. That means that the box is not only a super fast, disaster-resistant storage array, but also a Plex media server, a private cloud storage device, a network security camera recorder, Amazon Glacier Sync, Radius server, an antivirus server, a streaming audio server, a torrent box, email server, LDAP directory, data replicator, iTunes server, Apple Time Machine, a VPN server, and pretty much anything else you can imagine. It supports FTP, FTPS, SMB, and FS-CIFS, as well as iSCSI. It's been certified for VMware and Hyper-V for those who want to use the 1513 Plus in an SMB or virtual server environment. But it doesn't end there. You can use the USB ports to plug in USB storage devices, but you can also use them to connect 802.11ab GNAC or Bluetooth adapters for hotspot functionality. You can connect 3G, 4G USB dongles for internet access. It can be a print server, a router, and combined with a DTV stick, it can even DVR and stream programming from OTA antennas or your cable provider. The 1513 Plus is louder than ioSafe's previous NAS boxes, a result of the use of 2 cooling fans in the back, but it's still quiet enough to have under or behind your desk. The regular operating sound level is 25 decibels, while full cranking will bring it to 59 decibels. In other words, if you have even a moderately noisy office, you're not going to hear the 1513 Plus unless it's next to your head. Of course, the single feature that binds all ioSafe products together is their data recovery service guarantee. The loaded version of the 1513 Plus automatically gives you 1 data recovery event for the length of your plan. If you lose any data for any reason, fire, flood, earthquake, gunshot, or just an IT worker accidentally deleting your data, ioSafe will cover $5,000 of the recovery cost. On the pro side, the ioSafe 1513 Plus is an incredible combination of speed, features, and durability. Also, Synology's DRS makes the purchase price worth it, even without a best-in-class NAS. On the con side, price. Just the price. At between $3,000 and $6,000 for a fully equipped unit with multiple years of DRS, it's way beyond the range of even a power user. But then again, with this feature set, performance, and DRS, it's a bargain for small to medium businesses or the home professional. In the end, it's really simple. If you don't have data that's worth $3,000 to $6,000, then it's a don't buy. But if you do, then the ioSafe 1513 Plus is a no-brainer buy. The ioSafe 1513 Plus is available now. You can find it for between $3,000 and $6,000.
All right, thank you, Father Robert Ballas here. I should say that those ioSafes start at $3,000. That was $6,000 as configured. But hey, if you need somewhere to store your data that's safe, That's a buy. Let's talk about high-res music. I want to review something that I got from my friend Neil Young. Maybe you, maybe you remember the Kickstarter for the Pono player. Neil Young, the rock and roll star, has been talking about this for at least a couple of years. I saw him on Letterman more than a year ago talking about his idea that people aren't getting all the music that they should be. He says, you're not hearing what we're making. He wanted people to have the experience of the music the same way a musician might have the experience of the music. And to do that requires a number of things. First of all, you got to get rid of the MP3 and the AAC, the highly compressed, digitally compressed music, and start moving to a format that's closer to the original masters, in some case identical to the original masters. So I'll call them high res. Sometimes they're called high def. These are tracks that are often distributed at a higher quality even than a CD quality. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But then you have to have hardware that can play it back. And your Mac, your Windows machine generally can't. They need specialized playback hardware, digital to analog converters that can handle the high resolution files and play them back. And then, of course, the last step in the chain is something really good to reproduce it. You're not going to play it back through your little computer speakers. You either need a great stereo system or a great pair of headphones. The world is changing. You know, a lot of us have been listening to iPods on kind of, let's face it, not the greatest headphones for almost 20 years now, 10, 13 years since the iPod came out. And just in time, here comes the Pono player. So as soon as I heard Neil talking about this for a long time, as soon as the Kickstarter project went up, I pledged $400. That's what it costs to be an early adopter. It's actually what it still costs to get a Pono player. Finally, they're starting to come out. They're starting to ship. In fact, you could even go to ponomusic.com and order one for yourself. They come in aluminum, yellow, seems to be the only color right now. And again, you'll be pre-ordering for early next year to get your Pono player. What is the Pono player, and why is it so strangely shaped? Well, for one thing, they are putting high-quality circuitry in here. They're using high-quality digital to analog converters, DACs, very high-quality headphone amps. So this by itself reproduces high-resolution music as accurately as possible. You'll have to go out and get a good pair of headphones. It doesn't come with a headphone. It does come with music. Every Pono player comes with one Neil Young song, and depending on which one you bought, if you bought it on Kickstarter, you may get other stuff. He signed up many, many musicians to put their albums on the Pono player. In fact, the music community, I think, has really been embracing this idea of high-res music. This is a Neil Young signature edition. You can see it says, it's got his signature, and it says limited edition, 251 of 500 players. Truth is, I'm not sure that's such a great deal because you can see the fit and finish are a little bit rough. These are obviously the first Ponos out of the market, out of the factory. The Pono player itself has a touch LCD screen that you can use to select songs. It will import music. It won't work with iTunes. You will have to install the Pono Music World app, which is available for free for Pono owners on the site ponomusic.com, and then synchronize. Synchronization is fairly slow. This is a USB 2.0 device, and these are really big files. And yes, of course, it'll play your MP3s and your AAC backs, but it's mostly designed for high-res files recorded in the Apple lossless format or FLAC, which is the kind of open source format that I use and I think is probably the best choice, not for quality, but just for compatibility going forward. So I've put a number of albums on here. You see the album art is carried along. Some of these tracks I purchased from Pono Music. Most of them I purchased from other outlets, hdtracks.com. I also, Bowers & Wilkins, the English stereo speaker company, also has something they call the Society of Music. That's where Peter Gabriel has been selecting songs. This is one of the great albums of all time, Peter Gabriel's So. And they're using the remastered edition, and then these are, as far as I know, the original master recordings. Most albums these days are recorded digitally using a PCM, uncompressed PCM format, and generally are recorded, let me explain first that a CD, when you get a CD, the recording technology used samples the sound 44,100 times per second, 44.1 kilohertz, and each sample is 16 bits. But when they record these albums, they record them at a higher resolution. This album, for instance, was recorded at 24-bit samples and 48,000 samples a second. The highest resolution this will play, and the highest resolution I've ever seen, is 192,000 samples per second at 24-bit. In fact, many of these albums are recorded that way. This is Michael Jackson's Thriller. So the ability to listen to what is essentially a master recording is really exciting. You'll also find some other differences. For instance, generally, the audio compression is less on these. Now, the use of the term compression can be confusing. There's two kinds of compression. There's the digital compression that makes a file smaller, MP3 or AAC. And then there's audio compression that reduces the dynamic range. It makes the quieter passages and the louder passages the same sound. And all the music you hear on the radio, almost all the music you hear on your iPod, is compressed heavily in that audio fashion. It gives it more punch, and it sounds better on the radio, but frankly, it harms the musicality. Less so in pop music, significantly in classical music. When you listen to a symphony by Bruckner or Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, you know, the Rite of Spring begins with a single bassoon playing in a whole orchestra, and then ends with the entire orchestra playing at almost top volume. That's a huge dynamic range, and you're not going to hear that on an MP3. You really aren't. But believe me, when you listen to those songs on an appropriate piece of hardware like the Pono player, you hear more definition in the music, you hear more airiness, a much higher dynamic range. The oboe is quiet, the full symphony is loud, and you hear it all. You almost feel like you're in the middle of the concert. And while there is some discussion over whether high-res music really sounds better, and probably for an old man like me, it doesn't sound as much better as it might for somebody with younger ears, I definitely can tell the difference, and I really enjoy the difference. Albums in high-res format on Pono Music World will probably cost around $18 or $19. That's a premium of maybe $5 over the CD in the music store, if you could find a music store. It's not hugely expensive. And albums that are recorded carefully, like this Norah Jones Come Away With Me, in digital format, just sound beautiful. So the review of the Pono player really is much more than just a review of the player. It's really a discussion of this whole notion of, can music sound better? And if you buy better quality music and you play it back on a better piece of hardware like the Pono player, and you listen to it on great headphones. I've been using my Etomodix in-ear headphones. They're very good quality, about $300. I've also been using even more expensive headphones to listen to my Pono player. Things like my Hi-Fi Man HT560s. That's a $900 pair of headphones. Now, one thing you should probably note is that headphones, in-ear headphones like these, which don't require a lot of juice, work fine with a Pono player. But a magnetic planar headphone like the Hi-Fi Man, you can use it. You're not going to get a lot of level out of it. You're probably going to want to add an amplifier, a good quality amplifier in between the Pono and your headphones. The Pono comes with two outputs. There's no digital output. And that makes sense if you think of this as a digital to analog converter. That's really a lot of what the Pono does. So it has headphone level out and it has line level out. You could plug that into your stereo. If your existing stereo can't handle these high-res songs, you could think of the Pono as a kind of an external converter that will convert the high-res songs and then pass it through the line out into your stereo for later listening. I've tried it that way. It turns out my stereo, my Onkyo 616, has excellent digital analog converters that can handle high-res music. So I just put the high-res music, in fact, all of these songs on USB, and plug the USB key into the Onkyo receiver and listen to it, and it sounds fantastic on a big stereo system with nice speakers. You'll definitely hear the difference, but you'll even hear it with good headphones on the Pono player. So let me talk a little bit about the pros and cons. The pros, it is a way of putting really high quality music in your somewhat oversized pocket. Great for a car if you have an analog input to your car stereo or your home stereo system if you don't have a DAC already. It's a good headphone amplifier. The digital analog converter in this is a very high quality one, widely praised by audiophiles. I think the user interface is pretty good. I've got to say the software, the desktop software, is a little wonky. It's early days yet, and Sometimes the Pono doesn't show up on the desktop as easily as it should. Some of it's a little weird. This software is based on Android, at least as far as I can tell. It seems to be the Android file system, but it does some fun things. It generates automatic playlists, 100 random songs you'll see there. There is no random I don't think there's any random playback otherwise, but you can use this 100 random songs playlist. Songs imported this month, not recently played, recently imported, that kind of thing. It's a decent player. It's you know what, we've come a long way since the iPod came out, and most players nowadays are probably going to be very similar in usability to the iPod. You can turn the level up and down. Let me plug in some headphones so you can see it. With the big plus and minus on the front of it. It has a nice indicator as to the level. You know, headphones like these Etymotics run pretty well at about 50 to 75%. With the higher impedance headphones, you're going to want to turn it up all the way. You can pause by pressing the middle button. It does not work with you know, the special controllers designed for the iPod. You'll have to do it manually. You know, in a way, it's a little bit of a primitive portable music player, especially if you're used to an iPod or even an iPhone to play back your music. But it does do something that the iPhone and iPod can't do, play back those high-res files. We're seeing more and more phones that can, but remember, it's not merely the ability to play the files, it's the ability to play the files well. And I'm a little concerned about the quality of the digital to analog converters in some of these phones that can do that, such as the Harman Kardon edition of the HTC One. Sony's making a Walkman similarly priced that also plays back. We reviewed it earlier, that plays back high-res files. So there will be competition for the Pono. In fact, there already is. Most of it's very expensive, but a lot of it will come down in price, I think, now that this is established as a $400 product. So it does play back the music. It sounds great. The DACs and the headphone amp are good, adequate for in-ear headphones or earbuds, Sennheisers, that kind of thing. You might, if you have a high-impedance headphone, need a separate headphone amp. The cons, it's very expensive, $400, and you may already have this kind of capability in your stereo system, in your phone, or in another portable player. So there are other choices in that regard. But all in all, I want to say buy this because I want to support this notion that music can really sound a lot better. It does. It really does sound a lot better if you listen to high-res music on the proper hardware. You shouldn't buy it unless you can hear the difference. So I encourage you to listen before you buy, if you can. If you can find somebody with some high-res music and some good playback equipment, see if you could tell the difference. A lot of people probably can't. On the other hand, it's also a learned ability. I believe that we've all gotten used to the junky sound of MP3s. And in fact, I couldn't really tell the difference until I actually sat down and started to pay attention, got some instruction from people as to what to listen to. And as you start, it's like drinking good wine. As you start to listen to better and better music, you're suddenly a little more aware of what you're looking for and of the difference. And I think there really is a difference, and it really is worth going for. So I'm going to say buy this if you don't already have a way to play high-res music back. I'm excited about the future of music. I think we may look back in a few years, now that there's plenty of storage, hard drive space isn't limited, bandwidth is for the most part pretty high. We don't need to compress these songs as highly as we did with MP3 and AAC. We could start to listen to uncompressed music, which sounds a lot better, and maybe even for some of us, uncompressed high-res music, which sounds about as good as it gets. So I have a feeling we may look back in time and say, yeah, an MP3 era, that was a terrible time, wasn't it? Anyway, I think a buy for the Pono player, and I thank Neil Young for making the effort to bring this product to market and getting us all to think about the music we listen to. Well, that does it for this edition of Before You Buy. I want to thank our reviewers, Aaron Newcomb, OMG Chad, and of course, Father Robert Ballasare. I hope you will take a look at some of the products we reviewed and let us know what you think. Our email is byb@twit.tv. You can also request products for future shows. We make the show available in two different ways. You can go to the website, twit.tv/byb, and get the whole show beautifully edited, put together, like handcrafted. Or you can also go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/beforeyoubuy, and see each review individually. That's great if you want to share a particular product review with a friend or family member. You can also subscribe to the show. We're on every podcast client. You can find us on our Twit apps, thanks to our third-party developers, on the iPhone and the Android, Windows Phone, even on Roku. I just hope you will listen and watch and be back next week. We'll see you next time. And remember, you got to watch before you buy. See you next time. Bye-bye.